So today, what I'm going to say to you is the idea about Africans and Africa uh, that still has not been, resolved. Um, can be uh, can be challenged if we go to the ontological, the epistemological, axiological virtue about Africans. Their existence, their knowledge, and their values. Axiology is about their values. Epistemology is about their knowledge. Ontology is about their existence. Now, all these variations, the metaphysics of these variations about as Africans for thousands of years, they have existed like this. How can they exist without knowledge and values? You see, how can if you can't just have you can't survive this even if you people fight you or you had a lot of challenges and struggles and you went through all so many things, so many problems. Despite that, still Africans have existed. So that's why I use this ontology, epistemology, and axiology. And the idea is also all the rich indigenous knowledge roots um, that Africa that has been created in Africa. I would mention a few of them, not all of them. In fact, my brother Diran and me are thinking of writing a book, uh, not just a book to write a book for people to read, but it's also for really for education, for to make sure that all the young people can grow up with this education. And Diran now is doing research on this very systematic research on his sabbatical. He's just working on this very systematically, and we're discussing it a lot. So that's what we're going to do. So I'll go with inspiration. Then I want to um, ask my INAT, all of you, my uh, brothers and sisters, can we now add appropriate technology to Ubuntu philosophy to bring change in education? Can appropriate technology Ubuntu now? We don't just call it appropriate technology. Now I want you to call it ATU, appropriate technology Ubuntu, to change the African education system and to change the African education curriculum with the African technology Ubuntu also. And then to do INAT, appropriate technology for new Pan-African Education Commission, that we have been trying to set up this Pan-African Education Commission, but we have not done. Now, I have an amazing, really wonderful professor extraordinary, Steve Little, is Stephen. He lives in England, but we just now are creating the Center for Pan-African Studies, where we are thinking seriously about how to really also do so many interesting things about education. In fact, we also have written a paper together where we are on experiential learning and all this. How do we create graduates, not to just go to campus, but to do something creative and to produce and create by creating team buildings and so on. So things like that, we are now working on it. So appropriate technology with Ubuntu, ontology, epistemology, and axiology is essential to include the excluded African originated indigenous knowledge. Time now with Ubuntu as the INAT appropriate technology to undertake rethinking thinking, reframing framing, relearning learning, redoing doing, retransform transformation, and reperform performative and reformation to include the excluded rich knowledge from Africa where humanity originated. Now, humanity and civilization originated in Africa. The ancient Egyptian civilization was the first of the recorded great world civilizations. Little is known about the prehistoric societies that came before Egypt, but it's assumed that they were steeped in superstition and that their ability to treat disease was primitive at best and possibly non existent. But ancient Egypt was cannot. Ethiopia and Africa. That was the name. Humanity, science, and civilization originated from Africa. Imhotep was African. Imhotep was a great genius, a genius of geniuses, I call him, the Einstein of Einstein. What didn't you know? Almost every sphere, all right? Architecture, all the medicine, anything, astronomy, science, in every sphere, he was amazing, what he knew. And people know him and recognize him, and they say he cannot be African. Some who write about him. And that's the problem with science, astronomy, and all originated from Africa. Let's celebrate the origin of humanity. Know that science, knowledge, innovation, medicine, astronomy, engineering, technology, mathematics, architecture, and philosophy originated from Africa. When Ethiopia was Africa, world civilization, arts and literature, astronomy, mathematics, architecture, and engineering, and Ethiopians were the first to invent, they say, the science of stars and gave names to the planets, not at random and without meaning, but descriptive of the qualities which they conceived them to possess. And it was from them that this art passed to the Egyptians. Part of the this is something from a book called Bokeh. It's called Abu Shakar. It's written in the ancient Ethiopian language, but someone just translates some. Uh, I asked a friend from Ethiopia, and he sent it to me, the translation. So that's what I got, and I thought I should let you know that. In the ancient time, when this Ethiopia, it is not the name that you have now. It's in the ancient time, it's Africa as a whole. There was no distinction. There was no boundary. Boundaries came later. Mainly the colonialists did it for division of labor to division. So now we also have life's entropic tendencies. Art embodied foundational values of love, life, creativity, and awareness that work to inhibit or isolate isfet, life's entropic tendencies by an inner matrix of virtues, order, balance, harmony, compassion, reciprocity, justice, and truth. You see, this is the kind of thing that in the ancient time, rehabilitative justice, restorative justice, social solidarity, social justice, not injustice, was what was created from the African side. But this is a brother of Hunter Alvin. He's from an African American. He's very, very good. He's a scientist, also does physics, many things, and is incredible. And we have very good discussions all the time. And and he's educating us very much. So African Universal deep values originated from Africa too. This is the axiology side. African universal values of math, Ubuntu, and others make Africans associational, not individual. See, individual self-interest, no. Selfishness, no. Greed, no. Money loving, no. Power loving, no. All these things is what you see, and you see the world in a conflict because you have all these crazy things people do. They shouldn't be loving this. So we need to, for Ethiopianism, Pan-Africanism, and the African Renaissance, have powerful values, principles, and ideas to bring faster the unity of Africa. But everyone in Africa, from elementary to tertiary education level, must learn and make mindset shift from division to the unity of all Africans living as one human family. This is what we should do, and these extraordinary ideas that came. All right, the math I just described to you, the justice, the love, everything must be really included even in the education system and even the education curriculum. What I say is INAT, appropriate technology, Ubuntu is what we need to develop. And Julius Caesar said, ex Africana semper aliquid novi. Out of Africa comes always something new. I hope now, with all these interesting ideas that you have generated, like INAT, and now we're created Osiri University, and I'm also very proud of Professor Stephen Little, that he's going to do teaching also. They are not going to pay him a lot of money or anything, but at least he's not going for money. He's doing for service of Africa. I really appreciate that very much. So I'm also going to do, and I think I want INAT to also have a really good relationship with Osiri University because it's a very interesting university. I mention it a little bit later. Let the INAT appropriate technology Ubuntu make Africa unite to become free from poverty, unemployment, inequalities, conflicts, wars, and religious, ethnic, gender, and all other divisions to bring social justice and social solidarity for all. We need to apply INAT's African technology, appropriate technology, Ubuntu, to deal with the four challenges confronting Africa, not just Africa, the whole world. The problem of unending poverty, inequality, unemployment has not been replaced with additive and multiplicative well-being for all the people, except for a country like China, from at least with over 1.4 billion people. At least we're not seeing you know, absolute poverty is not there. But in America, you have over 30 million people I hear are poor. Why is America? Because it's rich, but why all these problems we are getting from that side? So the world is going through demographic explosion and climate change, with informal and agricultural economy remaining still largely where the majority of the people live. This is also very complicated. When we have a lot of our people are in the agricultural sector. A lot of our people also are young people. And we need to know in Africa how we can actually make these transformations. Otherwise, it's going to make huge challenge for Africa, because we don't also, a lot of our exports are almost how many? Over 80%, I think, is external to the West and the North, not to each other. We don't even the World Bank, IMF, all of them have written about this. So we have a challenge. The first challenge is now the global COVID-19 pandemic that has created the health uh, issue is also very serious, and it's very important because of all these conflicts, many things we are going through. Then health matters also become a challenge. We are now also entering into what is being described as surveillance capitalism, which is connected to the digital age of the post, and you know all what's happening with TikTok, all this, you know, media awash with all kinds of things. So that's very complicated. In arts, I have appropriate technology Ubuntu to change universities in Africa. Very interesting thing what Ali Mazuri said. A university has to be politically distant from the state. Secondly, a university has also to be culturally close to society. And thirdly, a university has to be intellectually linked to wider scholarly and scientific values of the world of learning. The true African university must be one that draws its inspiration from its environment, not a transplanted tree, but growing from a seed that is planted and nurtured in the African soil. That's why we cannot ignore the indigenous rich knowledge, the indigenous spiritual knowledge, the indigenous our Ubuntu, great philosophy, many things like that. We cannot just Sankofa. So many things we have been created, but we have not done it. Epistemic freedom, intellectual sovereignty, Africa requires in production and reproduction of knowledge is what Africa lacks. It needs to bring epistemic freedom, intellectual sovereignty, all right? Not political only sovereignty or economic sovereignty, also knowledge sovereignty in production, reproduction of knowledge. Right to think, write, theorize, communicate, and interpret the world from where we are located, and this set afoot new humanism in ecologies of knowledge. We need to build on this kind of sovereignty. That's why I say the epistemic side, the ontological side, the axiological side, the value side, all right, the knowledge side, all right, and the existence side, the reality side must all be. Now, African contribution in science, examples in physics, chemistry, engineering, and astronomy, can't go through all of them. But civilization, astronomy, as I mentioned to you, originated from Africa. Physics, mechanical engineering, the level, I mean, there's some examples. Antonio Diop, you know him, you know, the nuclear physicist. And also, I don't know if you know him, We need to really take the knowledge of these people and also put it in the curriculum and the education system, so we can also teach on solar physicists. We also have on African Solar Energy Network. In fact, on the 4th of February, we had a very wonderful conference, a whole day conference, where I was also the speaker on that, and I was a founding of the Unsol. It's about now 13 years we did it. Our entire idea is how do we create solar energy to create free electricity for all of Africa. Not only Africa, even Europe, we can do it. The physics and the knowledge is not a problem. The politics is rough. In fact, the area that was started when we first started this ANSOL, there was a study done about the solar energy, all right, in the Sahara Desert. The idea was, how do we make the Sahara Desert green, and how can we also, all right, make sure that we get all the solar energy absorbed and used and transformed into electricity. The study was very well done. Many research should have been done, not just North Africa, but it should also be all of Africa, because we have all the energy exists, the solar energy is there. In fact, we have wind power, solar power, many things. All these satellites we do, many things, solar energy, all these things we can do it very well, but we can't do it. Why are we not doing it? Because of this, all these divisions we have, and we don't focus on real problems to solve problems. We don't even need to fight. For example, now, if you notice, Egypt, Sudan, and Ethiopia fight on the Grand Renaissance Dam. But if we get electricity from our sun, then there is no need to fight. You see, on the water, we don't need electricity via water. We can get it from our sun. All right, on the stars, all this, we could work on that, on our moon, many things like that we could do, but we're not doing it very well. So chemistry, Iron Age, Southern Sudan, many metallurgy, all this, Benin, bronze, indigenous artisanal mining, Imhotep, father of medicine. All right, I mean, many astronomy, ancient Egypt, and then I just dug on also Abu Shakar. I told you, even in the Ethiopian astronomy, the predictions of the planets is incredible, and that was all done. I mean, contributions to proto-math science, Lembobo, Ishagobon, ancient Egypt, Amos, mathematical papyrus, sonar geometry, symmetrical, nonlinear basis for new mathematical ideas like mirror curves and various class of matrices, African fractals, West Central Africa, repeating geometric patterns, various scales, using textiles, painting, sculpture, cosmologies, architecture, town planning. Fractals are the basis of the World Wide Web. You not believe, when I was in Ethiopia, now unfortunately, forgive me, I feel I'm suffering now, because even my family were, uh, I lost some of my family because of this drone attack. Uh, in the place where I was born, around that area, my relatives, not at least the uncles on this didn't die, but the children, the grandchildren, this kind of, were in the house, were killed. Yeah, it's very complicated what's going on. Um, uh, what can I say to you? Very, very difficult. And when I went to Ethiopia, I was giving lectures. I was a junk professor in some of the universities. Then after I said that, I met Lik Elikaunt, is called, the learned of the learned, the knowledge of the knowledgeable. His name's Isra. He's a bishop. Could not believe, for 5 hours he gave me fractal mathematics education. For 2 days I couldn't sleep. I just couldn't believe the mathematical system they know. But these people didn't go to university. They didn't study mathematics, but they know so many things. African mathematics, West Central Africa, repeating geometric patterns of various scales, in textile, painting, sculpture, cosmology, architecture, town planning. On every web they show it. Binary logic also, in various cultures, in computation, metaphysics. I mean, you not believe it. Seeing all this knowledge. Some examples of African philosophy, African concept of personhood, communalism, African humanism, and also you remember this Gacha reconciliation in Rwanda. Although now, look, we still are having big problems also in Eastern Congo. I don't know what's going on. It's called they call it the African World War. They call it, because it's been continuing for a long time. And I think, despite the fact that we have Gacha reconciliation, okay, for the prevention of all kinds of diseases, all right, critical revive and Sankofa science, social inclusive science, applied study stem cell research in many places like that we have. African environmental philosophy, eco-bio-communitarianism, ethics of care, ethics of nature relatedness. We don't want also to destroy nature. In fact, what was good when I go to Kigali is every time everybody cleans. And you can see, I mean, I see dirt in London. I don't see the dirt I see in the London street, I see in Kigali. I think at least some kind of things should be developed where everybody should also be doing work. Can be applied energy policy, epistemologies, the nature of knowledge, belief, values, and all these cultures. Acknowledgement of African contribution for Western research news. Africans also have originated many scientific discoveries. Evidence has been acknowledged by astronomers and engineers from Western research universities that in many major inventions, documented contributions have been made by Africans. Carbon steel was made 2,000 years ago in Tanzania. Astronomical observations in the Mali of the Dogons have been acknowledged by Carl Siegel of Cornell University. Language, mathematical systems, architecture, agriculture, cattle navigation, inland open seas, medicine, communication, writing systems. All right. What wasn't done? Many things like that. In all these fields, Africans have been inventors. So again, African contributes to agriculture. African knowledge in agriculture is rich. This has been recognized and acknowledged fully by the U.S. Academy of Science in 1960s that Africa has more native cereals than any other continent. It has its own species of rice, as well as finger millet, fonio, perla millet, sorghum, teff. Teff is when you eat injera, the Ethiopian nice food. It's cancer free. It will free you from cancer or anything, and it won't make you fat. Guinea millet and several dozens wild cereals whose grains are eaten. This is a food heritage that has fed people for generations, possibly stretching back to the origin of humankind. It is also a local legacy of genetic wealth upon which a sound food future might be built. But strangely, it has been bypassed in modern times. Forward thinking scientists are starting to look at the old cereal heritage with unbiased eyes. Peering past the myth, they see waiting in the shadows of a storehouse of resources whose qualities offer promise not just to Africa, but the world. The Ethiopian crop F is medicine. It has still great potential to be the nutrition for healthy food living. Food security in Africa should not be in doubt at all. This is what we wrote in our book, Putting Africa First. It's almost 20 years now, 21 years now. The making of innovation systems. We wrote it about this crop also that we mentioned. It's very, very important that food security is critically important. There's, in fact, there's lots of food to eat, but people are not able to eat it because of the way our economy is, neoliberally managed, where selfish competition, okay, discourages all these values I just explained to you, rich philosophies and values, epistemology, ontology, and axiology that I mentioned to you. Ancient Ethiopian binary logic mathematics. There was an ancient mathematics from Ethiopia demonstrating that Africans use binary logic of mathematical calculation, which is similar to today's Internet Explorer and other computer-based systems. You can see the link. You can look at it. It's amazing. And now there are two global, real and virtual. The binary logic mathematics is used to the internet world was used by the Ethiopians. All right, and others also in Africa. There are two global economies, real and virtual. The binary mathematics used for the internet world is used by Ethiopian mathematics. So you can see it how it's done. I don't need to go through all of them. But the system that this mathematics use is what the entire internet world mathematical system is using. So I just gave you some examples so you can look at it. Yeah. So you don't add and uh, subtract. You do it in a different way. Yeah. All right. So, and then the origin of universities. The first university in the world was also African. Haik Stephanos in Ethiopia is the earliest university, but not many people know about it. I went to see it. I was amazed. And then I wish you could also see that, get a chance to see it. The extraordinary manuscripts, everything that were, and some of these manuscripts have been also stolen, taken by many. In fact, recently I saw even some of the things that was taken. Some of them were returned from Italy and things like that. The Al Quran University, founded by an African woman in Fez, Morocco, is also in 85th. The Guinness Book of Records says so. The second university in the world was also Africa Al Azhar University of Egypt, which still exists today. In Europe, the University of Bologna started in 10,080 229 years after the first university by the African woman. You can read it from the New African magazine that I wrote about this. All right. So African ontology, epistemology, axiology is rich. Africans have developed metaphysics of epistemology. They have developed theories of knowledge as a brain has a relation to reality. You cannot, they have brain. There is reality out there. You cannot say Africans have not epistemological metaphysics. You cannot say that. They have existed. They also have ontology. If they exist, ontology is existence, epistemology is their brain, their mind, relationship to reality. How, how is it? What do they know? What they don't know? That is the epistemology, the knowledge side. Do they know the reality out there? Or is the reality exclude them because they have no brain? You cannot say they have no brain. Even if their brain is not first class, there must be something they see: how to live, how to eat, how to relate with others. All these things they have done in life. I know sometimes, even up until now, look what people do. They fight, they kill each other, they go to war. Look at what's happening in Palestine and Israel. I mean, it's incredible. All right. And what Ukraine and Russia and in my own country in Ethiopia, the ethnic warfare is going on. Almost you could call it ethnic apartheid. Is taking. I don't know why they are doing this, but that's what we have. But the brain may function wrongly, but it actually is connects to reality. Uh, so ontology means existence. How did Africans manage to exist? Despite the fact that so many things happen: slavery, colonialism, imperialism, even the divisions now, all right, all the strange things that is happening. Their ontology must have epistemology and axiology, values and ethics. Axiology is about their values and ethics. It's through religions, through non-religions, through many things. They have also values and ethics. So ethics and values, existence, relation to reality with knowledge, with mind and brain. They cannot exist without knowledge despite their long history of suffering that has not ended. Their ontology, epistemology, axiology are with their nature of being. So I just want you to understand that we have this, and how do we really work on it to make sure that the epistemology, the axiology, and the ontology of African existence is also managed very well. So re-educate all to unite Africa. How to understand and explain the value chain of our human life from birth to death. How to create true knowledge for human being and nature, safety. How to discover what is acceptable as good or reject as not good, knowing what is right and what's wrong. How to bond heart, body, soul, mind, and matter with research and knowledge. How to understand the natural world, space, air, land, and water, and how to understand the cosmos, astronomy, and the universe to save both humanity and nature. How to understand wishes, dreams, emotions, feelings with moral, intellectual, emotional intelligence. How to avoid greed, selfishness, arrogance, and jealousy, and all these conflicts is what we need: a new re-education. We need INAT 80 to re-educate all to unite Africa with these values. Uh, uh, Appropriate technology, Ubuntu education for all. From Africa, there is Ubuntu that promotes I am because you are. Many is one is many. There is an I in you and you in I. Diversity is not negative. It can be an asset. It should not take away our similarity and oneness. Let's learn with humility, honesty, sincerity, and integrity to appreciate diversity in order to celebrate our one humanity with selfless moral and emotional intelligence and not the pursuit of narrow self-interest. Any variation such as color, language, religion, caste, ethnicity, gender, and all do not change our humanity or diminish it. If we know how to appreciate difference by not denying our human similarity, we can create a humane, peaceful, civilized world with values of care and share, and not to live in the current capitalist, neoliberal global world run by pricing everything and valuing nothing. A dog or horse or any animal can be black or white, still a dog or horse, donkey and all. A human being can be brown, black, or white, still human. Color cannot change the human gene or character. Those that created the crime using color to buy and sell humans as goods and things should learn the big tragic mistake they made, and let one human family occupy peacefully our world to keep it going in the eternal river of time. That's, I think, very, very important. This extraordinary philosophy, Ubuntu, came from Africa. Spiritual knowledge, heritage are rich. Spiritual and knowledge heritage in Africa. Let all Africans know the genius of geniuses was Imhotep, an African. African ancestors have left all the knowledge and spiritual heritage. Africans must also build their future with pride and dignity, learning the rich knowledge and spiritual heritage. Save the world with Ubuntu, with the deep heritage, with Ubuntu, which came from Africa, with a deep heritage to make all humanity with peace and security by valuing people and nature well-being, safety in one world community, with the health security of hope, always and forever. Know all of you too can be geniuses like Imhotep. Make him alive, and by you also being the modern day African creators, inventors, and innovators too. That's what we are trying to do. We are working even in Swanee University of Technology, in the industrial engineering and the faculty of engineering, where my brother also, Professor uh, John Trimble is there, and also Professor Stephen Little is also professor extraordinary there. Are now working. In fact, we are now publishing on this course we are developing to make the students team builders, and at the same time, job creators and venture startups. We're helping them to actually be inventors, creators, be our teachers rather than by setting something new, rather than just repeating what we taught them. So something like that we are creating. So new young generation is what we want to create, and this new education experiential learning, in this kind of learning, new approach, problem-based learning, work integrated based learning, all right, action-based learning, production-based learning. That approach is what we need to develop further also. That's what we're talking. So INAT, appropriate technical innovation for Africa, redeveloping development, re-innovating innovation, reviving indigenous knowledge from the exclusion of the education system from kindergarten to tertiary university levels requires thorough research that INAT can facilitate. Africans must treat one another as one human family, practicing appropriate technology Ubuntu philosophy and value truly, building African unity with Ubuntu value really, to build with the cherished rich African value of Ubuntu, one in all and all in one humanity. That's what we need to do. INAT's appropriate technology Ubuntu to change the African education system, to create an African unity for Renaissance project identity, to promote smart growth based on unified knowledge, learning, and innovation, inclusive growth that combines the knowledge of the community with the knowledge from the academy. It's very, very important not to ignore the knowledge of the community. There's so much knowledge people have, but they don't know how to express it. They may not even write it. They may only explain it verbally. We need to record it and find it into, make it into really, transcribe it. Many things like that we need to do. There is relationships we need to build. There's so much knowledge traditionally by going to different communities we can find. So we need to link the two, not exclude one or the other. Sustainable growth that utilizes natural resources by combining the human, natural, and spiritual worlds with moral intelligence. African Union Education Commission must be established to create the African free education system with Ubuntu, including the long-time excluded indigenous knowledge. Changing the African education curriculum with INA's African technology, appropriate technology Ubuntu. Ubuntu from kindergarten research to university must be included. Ubuntu continuously from primary, secondary, higher education, and beyond people's work lives must be included. Expanding education to community society is important. Expanding education to business and industry is also important. Every African to become all-time learner and creator with the knowledge, learning, innovation, and competence system throughout one's life is very important. Education curriculum modules with appropriate technology Ubuntu, develop or identify common core education curricula for kindergarten, elementary school, high school, college, and universities, harmonize and monitor the implementation of common core curriculum across member state educational institutes in all schools to tertiary university, develop and monitor the implementation of the INAT appropriate technology curriculum for all disciplines. So some module examples, how our ancestors lived peacefully before colonialism could be a module one. How Africans dealt with colonialism, survived this, the ontology, epistemology, axiology I mentioned to you, the values, the ethics, all right, the knowledge, and their existence. Very, very important. We kind of bring it in different times. The colonialism time is different. The pre-colonial times, the slavery time is there. Before that too, before slavery came, people existed. Many they created so many things, and then now, okay, the current situation is still in a mess. Africa is still not sorted out. So, what is Pan Africanism now? Is what is it helping them? The birth of Pan Africans, how Africans live now in the post colonial. There's Afro pessimists, you know, there's not much Afro pessimism. We need to work on that too. How African unity delay resolutions, appropriate technology Ubuntu future is also something we could develop. So let's think about, and we can create accreditation standardized qualification accreditation of African Higher Education Institute. Do not outsource it. Now we're working on many things like that, the building new institutes. In fact, if I get a chance, I would really like us to build the Pan African University. All right, Unity University is very, very important. Also, develop an all Africa-wide African-focused curriculum on African history, economy, indigenous knowledge, science, technology, development, and culture. Create awareness on principles of African Union, and create self-confident, responsible, accountable generation for Africa to stop talking unity and promoting conflict and division and corruption. We must really stop that. And then adding 80 Ubuntu value in the ongoing process, enlightening African young generation with the unity of knowledge by undertaking scientific research in all spheres, by including the human, natural, engineering, social, different areas, by addressing critically the political, cultural, socio-economic, ecological changes that keep impacting Africa's destiny. We need to work on that. INAT, appropriate technology for Ubuntu anchored development culture, educate African children of the new challenges faced by Africa, including questions of African unity, Pan-Africanism, regional integration, education and culture, youth skills development, gender issues, health, cultural diversity, creativity, arts, culture and development, intercultural dialogue within Africa, peace and environment, climate change, urbanization, scientific research and innovation, healthcare, sustainable development, good governance, South-South cooperation. And we have this as assist, we have created this network to innovation system for South-South collaboration. And again, we're having support also from Professor Stephen Little. And I hope also we can can also connect with INAT also, with African diaspora and indigenous knowledge system. All this we need to develop. 80 for new Pan-African Education Commission. Let's all petition to get Africa Union Economic Commission, the Pan-African Education Commission, to be approved by the Africa Union. They are not, we sent them in 2015 a whole proposal, but they didn't respond to us. I think this would be very good if we could do it with the AU Social Policy Framework and partner with the African nations' education ministers and academic institutes across Africa to strengthen and develop content-wide core curriculum accreditation parameters for all the African youth with Ubuntu. By working with experts throughout Africa, the Pan-African Education Commission pulls Africa's subject matter expertise in education to develop Mama African curriculum set of parameters to accredit African professionals by Africa Union for good without external interferences. We could do it like that. So with new curriculum structure with appropriate technical Ubuntu we have developed, so we can do it in different offices. We could create a Southern Africa, Northern Africa, ASO Advisory Board, Office of Africa Union Education Commissioner. All these things we can develop and see. We can suggest to them how they can assist us. But it's not easy to do it. We have Eastern African Regional Office, North African Regional Office, Central African Regional Office, South African Regional Office, West African. So we have the regions, but at the same time we have also the specific areas, the higher education, the university college areas, high school documents. So we need to include all of them from elementary school to higher education level, but in all regions, but connected. We can and united. Making like that is what we do. Let me just mention to you, Osiri University was INAT at Ubuntu. Osirio University envisions a curriculum of the African philosophy of Ubuntu, a united spirit in creating a better world, is what it is, its vision is. Learning at Osirio University is based on community, cooperation, and prosperity, which are values that are captured in the spirit of Ubuntu. Osirio University's mission is to deliver quality global education with the local feel at a sufficient scale to create a better world within the context of Ubuntu. We coach learners to their strengths as they concentrate on developing their core values and mastering the knowledge they need to make a difference. We challenge learners to use their history and culture to solve the problems in their local communities. Our brother, Professor Kalu Osiri, is amazing. He's the Director General of the program, and we are all in the board. We are doing the best we can. And Professor Stephen Little is also in the advisory board. And we are in the founding board. And so we are all working on it. And it's the Osiri University is headquartered in Lincoln, in Nebraska, USA. INAT, USA, INAT can collaborate with the Osiri University. And I just put you the link. You can also look at it. INAT can engage to unite Africa. INAT appropriate technology should encourage to defeat the feeling of being defeated with education. The feeling of being defeated, we Africans we must defeat it with education, learning, and research training. We should promote Afro-optimism that oppresses uh, the African unity, innovative imagination. You see, by promoting Afro-optimism, the oppression of African unity, imagination must not that oppression must be removed. We should defeat Afro-pessimism by seeing the possibilities of applying the INAT at a renewal for Africa to unite and not remain divided. Africa divided benefits imperialism, and Africa united can make Africa achieve Rockstar's sustainable development, super capable standing in the world. So let's go for that. A new hybrid synthesis with AT Ubuntu, appropriate technology Ubuntu. Even African development has to be anchored with Ubuntu values. There's a need now to build new synergy between development and innovation system. Economic gain to make profit is not sufficient. There must be social well-being gain, environmental protection gains, synergize informal with formal economy, indigenous with modern, all knowledge and not merely prioritize the economic variable by excluding the social and environmental gains to undertake both innovation and development. That's what we need to do. The development innovation theories have evolved mainly dominated by economics field, neoliberal economics. There is a need to generate problem-based knowledge creation by applying all the disciplines using the unity of knowledge. We need a unified conceptual framing, theories, linking innovation system with tangible, measurable development, comprehensive health, human nature, safety outcomes with that. So AT ontology, epistemology, and axiology of Ubuntu, the ontology, epistemology, axiology of innovation with development need transformation by rethinking them to address the challenge the world is going through. We have now digital gangsters, cybercrime, social media awash with unregulated explosion of all kinds of morally, emotionally not intelligent information. There's a need for transformative innovation that can contribute to a well-being anchored development of both humans and nature. AT Ubuntu for Africa to manage digital. Let Africa move from the physical world to the digital world and enter into the knowledge economy with a smart, integrated, and green innovative Africa. Let Africans also try to develop sovereign wealth fund to make the people own the rich African wealth, that natural resources that still continues to be exploited by those who are not Africans, except those who collaborate with the external exploiters of Africa. No need to depend on loans, aid, and debt. Better to understand all transformation and production by engaging all the people like Ethiopia did in the building the Ethiopian Grand Renaissance Dam. It is the people of Ethiopia that are raising the resources to build the dam and in the Nile River. We should do something like that. In every sphere, we should depend, not go for loan, debt, and then fight each other. All right? And then when the loan is given, it's given to the leaders, and the leaders make that money their bank account, their real estate, and so they and then corruptions come, and then fighting comes, and who dies when the elephants fight? The grass suffers. When the politicians fight, who suffers? The ordinary people, the children, all right, the mothers. All these people are so it's not good. Let's continue to do research guided with appropriate technology Ubuntu, we have been working on how to apply this transformative innovation development to the African context. The book we produced on putting Africa first, the making of African innovation system, highlighted the critique of the current development promoted by both national and international organizations. No imitation of national innovation for Africa, no imitation of development economics for Africa. Africa needs a contextually anchored new model that synthesizes innovation with an African integrated sustainable development. Innovation, no, not, not INAT, uh, I think, and with appropriate technology, Ubuntu for innovation development, with the inclusion of IK, can be a great support for this. So rethinking development with ATBoot, there is a need to undertake rethinking and reinvention of innovation and development from the current pattern to the transformative new synthesis by taking the challenge Africa faced to discover how the problems will be resolved by creating innovative and developed well-being anchored Africa to serve above all the people and nature together. So reimagine Africa with appropriate technology Ubuntu, embedding a total invention, innovation, learning culture, transforming Africa through knowledge, learning, innovation, competence building systems, establishing a Pan-African innovation system by learning and building from the past inventions, innovations, and indigenous knowledge, using rich values of Africa, Ubuntu, Maat, and use Africa-centered innovation, indigenous knowledge innovation without transgressing social ecological health. So revive and use African originated knowledge heritage. African origin of science should not be ignored. It can be acknowledged as a foundation of Western science. Eurocentric science must be resisted. From kindergarten to tertiary level, Africa should revamp and decolonize the whole education system. Also use African languages to develop the scientific knowledge frontier. We have also created AfriLit to digitalize many languages already, or 38 or so languages have been, and we are working on making sure that all these African languages also should not be fighting. Everyone should, there should be digital way by which anyone can access the language. They don't, whether they speak it or not. If they want the language, they can access it and they can translate it and interpret it, everything like that. So no problem at all. So no need to fight on language also. And then also make divisions like Ethiopia has done, ethnic divisions. The boundaries are done through language. This was what the Italian fascist Roman Baron Paraciosca did. He wrote a book saying that unless we divide this country with a self-determination based on language, the country will not only defeat Italy, it says he will defeat Europe. That's what he said. It's not me who said it, it's him who said it. And now we are now celebrating what's called the Adwa 128th victory, where Ethiopia defeated in half a day this extraordinary defeat of the fascists, the Italians, as the Italian aggression. This is during the scramble for Africa at that time. And that's an amazing, really it's a great knowledge we need. And we need it also now because it still continues, because it's not ending, because the divisions are still there, the colonial divisions, and so many coups d'etats, 246 coups d'etats since 1963, all over Africa. It's incredible, even now going on. All this, remember what's going on in West Africa, Mali, Burkina Faso, all this, Niger, all complications, and also the way the different countries in the region, ECOWAS areas, some of them are living ECOWAS. Even I don't know even if South Africa is also not happy with what the African Union and others are doing. And I'm very proud of South Africa for what they did, by making sure that the killings and the death of children and mothers and all these innocent people should not happen by going to ICJ. I think this is very, very important. We need to work on this. All knowledge needs to be curriculumed with the inclusion of the African knowledge heritage and origin fully acknowledged. That's what my strong suggestions. Learn to find the unity pathways by teaching each other with Ubuntu how to share. And it's true with Africa Unity, we can make each other how to care by prioritizing all African people above all, more than one of one another. Decolonize with not IT education forever. We need to change ourselves. Let us do the unity by appreciating difference. Learn to find the unity pathways by teaching each other with appropriate technology Ubuntu how to share. And it is true that with Africa Unity, we can make each other how to care by prioritizing Africa and all African people above all, more than oneself or another. All Africans put our beloved Africa first. To acknowledge to put Africa first is to put humanity first. The world is still divided by implicit or explicit classifications of inferiority and superiority. Africans have not yet fully removed coloniality. They still prefer to look and affirm each other by mimicking externality. Africans must treat one another as one human family, practice Ubuntu truly, as you are me and me is you really, as no African is a stranger to another African. Not all, not call some Africans as relatives and others as aliens. Africaphilia must replace all the divisive forms that turn the African one family as strangers. Let's learn how to care and share with full collaboration and trust, knowing how to agree even when we disagree without any conflict and fight. Apply the relativity of African unity by removing ever the gravity burden of disunity and conflict. So unity is essential, never again for Africa to fall behind. Africa uniting is colonial divide and rule ending, and truly humanity as a whole and everywhere benefiting. With Ubuntu, all Africans coming together, showing the necessity to recognize full equality, to build with the cherished philosophy of Ubuntu, one in one, all Africans as one family and humanity. Let's all choose with INAT's appropriate technology Ubuntu value, the education pathway to create, invent, innovate, and appreciate the inclusion of the excluded indigenous knowledge in the African education system. I'm a second Allah Santi Sadat. Thank you very much. Hello.
Thank you very much, Prof. Muchie. If there are questions uh, that you have for Prof. Muchie, please raise your hand, or you can do that on your screen. I'd like you to, share either your concerns about what he said or questions um, on that. We have a few minutes left in our time slot for that. And while you're considering that, I want to make a comment, and then I can also raise a question.
Okay.
So those of you may know that for the past couple of years, INAT has been working on Appropriate Technology Manifesto, and myself and Prof. Muchie have been the editors of this effort, and we were able to get this published and printed by Africa World Press just this past month, and that is available through African World Press. But one of the things that we call on in this manifesto is we call on the different stakeholders, different who fall into different categories, from concerned citizens to universities to government to NGOs. We outline different ways that stakeholders can make a difference in terms of impacting change so that we can put in place appropriate technology. But one of the things I want to ask about, Prof. Muchie, is you just briefly mentioned GERD, the Great Ethiopian Renaissance Dam project, which is the largest build of a dam in Africa. But can you say something about the importance of infrastructure projects like that? I know one of the other efforts that's being pushed now is the building of railroads across Africa. Can you speak something to how these infrastructure projects will have an impact in terms of empowering Africa? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for the very good question. Now, I think what you asked is very important. The infrastructure side is critically important. If you know, as I just mentioned, we in Africa don't trade with each other. We don't, there's a lot of our trade is still external. You see, the connection external is more than the connection with each other. And part of the reason is because we haven't really built very strong on every sphere, in terms of the infrastructure side, the road side, the railway side, many of the things, the communications are not very good. Still, it's very weak. And unless we develop them, and also, we still have challenges because you can't fly to different African countries on the border, you get immigration challenges, many things like that. So we haven't really resolved the issue. I mean, at least look at Europe, whatever they have, they have so I mean they have done something, but we are not there yet. And we are so inter-African relationship is very, very weak, and so the infrastructure is will help hugely to if it's built very well. I know China is trying to help with the Belt Road and all these things. I think we're writing a paper. In fact, I must contribute because the time is against us now. So we must make sure that we do it. But this infrastructure that you mentioned is critically important. In fact, on the INAT side, we need to actually address it very, very well. Maybe even in the conference when we do it, there must be a special panel on it so we can actually do systematically what are the problems we're facing, how do we actually try to really address it. I think that's a very important question you raised. On the Grand Renaissance Dam, this is again the issue. As I just mentioned to you, if we use Africa's solar energy, if we know how to do it, I mean that if we did have political divisions and many things like that, and various interests, all right, interferences and so on, even on the north, the Sahara Desert area, the West is still there. Europe is also involved because the Europeans say North Africa is more close to us than Southern Africa. That's what they say. You know, the they are not linking us uh, to the Cape and Cairo or whatever relationship is far, whereas Cairo to Spain or Madrid or all right, Lisbon or Rome is close. You see, these kind of things is that we're hearing. So because of that, there's some challenge in terms of our unity also. So unless we do that, it's and then what happens now with the Grand Renaissance Dam, the water, there's still issue where in fact the African Academy of Science uh, they I think I don't know they got some funding where I have been asking them to see if we run a conference where we bring in the Sudanese, the Egyptians, Ethiopians all together to see if an approach could be done where we, they don't do it politically, but they do it on the basis of the actual, the scientific way. But how do what what impact does this electricity generation uh, with the dam being built has, and in terms of water loss, water gain, all these things we can do. And in fact, I've been thinking and writing about it. And then we have now heard there's some funding. Um, and Felix Dacora also told me that he got the funding when he was the director there, the president of the academy. And let's see what we could do to actually really have some important way by which the relationship between these three countries, because they are each of them are acting in a different way, and also external actors also get involved. For example, with Egypt, you have United States as even the United Nations Security Council. There's so many complicated issues. The politics is so rough, as you see it everywhere. So even this one, this Grand Renaissance Dam is a thing. But at the moment, uh, it's uh, it's still going on, and it's still at least there's no war, which is at least on the basis of it, they haven't done that. So far, that's what I see we could do. But I think we also, I mean, with you involved, we tried after INAT, we formed a group, WhatsApp group. But I think we're not actively doing a lot. But maybe now, if we get this conference with the academy, and maybe even let's think of how INAT could collaborate. Maybe I can suggest to them INAT can or could be a partner, and then see if we could do it together. Do some very good suggestions might come out of this, and to make sure that all the relationship between the three countries is based on data evidence, not on claims that they're going to lose water or one is going to gain and one is going to lose. And these kind of things, we need to work on it. Find a solution that makes sense is what I think we should do. That's my suggestion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prof. Muchie. Thank you, Prof. Muchie. Just for others on the line, he's referring to at our last International Conference on Appropriate Technology, where he led a workshop on GERD. Out of that, one of the resolutions from the conference, we set up a team of INAT members, but also representatives from the three countries, Sudan, Ethiopia, and Egypt, to participate in investigating how to move forward with GERD. So that's one of the things he was referring to. But I do want to thank all of our participants today, and I want to encourage those of you to both consider giving a guest lecture, but also to recommend to INAT topics that you'd like us to prepare lectures on, and presenters you'd like us to invite.